diys-by-dar, an antique smoking cabinet? I'm not sure what it is, but let's maximalize it. I was given this piece, so why not go ahead and try to do something with it? It is in pretty bad shape, warped, veneer is failing, and I'm not sure what it is. I did try to look it up. I could not find anything. Even the pattern on the door was something that I could not find. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is get this all scrubbed up with Dawn Power Wash, the hose, and the outside and the sun to give it a good drying. It is in okay shape on the inside, but the rest is pretty bad. A lot of veneer failure, which you can see on this door. So I was thinking it would be pretty easy to remove this. The door was probably the worst, and one key point: never try to remove veneer with a sharp tool, with the tool facing towards you or pushing towards you, because if you slip, you are going to hurt yourself. So I went ahead and got most of the veneer off and hit it with the orbital and some 80, then some 120, just to smooth these areas out. You can see on this bottom, the veneer just peeled right off, which was nice. But then I noticed a big split in that board. And this board goes right into those ends. So I had to really think how I'm going to repair this. And you can see it rocks because the top is so warped. I decided I really needed to take it off. So that was my next move. It was on there pretty tight. You can see I had trouble even getting that little crowbar in there. And I had to go ahead and resort to a big hammer and lightly try to get it tapped off before I could pry it off. So when I had enough room to get in there, I started with that little crowbar again, and I was able to pop that top off, and I am going to cut myself a new one. But this top, as you can see here in a minute, I am going to show you how warped it is with that big crack in it. Really not too much I could have done with that. And you can see that it just split right in half with minor pressure. So junk wood. Here it is all cleaned up, drying in the sun. And I am ready to measure up my bottom piece. I have my top piece cut. That turned out nice. And the bottom piece, I am going to use this little handy dandy tool, and I have no idea what it's called. Here's where I made the mistake. See how I lined that up to the front of that spindle? I should have lined it up just to the board. So I ended up with really big holes for the spindles to go through, and one piece down that was ruined, and I had to cut another one. I'm going ahead and getting these just sanded down a little bit so they're not so rough, and filled with some Gorilla wood filler. Sand them down again, and I'm ready to go ahead in the next part of this process. I have some Boss, and this is from Dixie Belle. It is a primer for stains and smells. And this piece smelled like an antique museum filled with antiques that were really, really old. 10 times that smell when you walk into that museum. So I needed to get this covered to get that smell to go away. And this works really good. It is my go-to for covering up odors. I need to get this piece completely covered, inside and out, with this Boss. So I just have the top sitting on there, but here I am. I have everything completely covered. I only needed one coat because it was pretty thick. Here's my two boards. The one I cut wrong, that was the red, and the one I cut right, that is going to get put on the bottom. And I have some Gorilla Wood glue. I'm going to put a generous amount on this panel. And I just did not want to try to remove this panel. It is stuck in them little grooves. And by the time I would have removed it and got the new one in, I think things would have been pretty bad to put it back together. And I'm just not that much of a carpenter. So this was my plan. I'm going to put this board over the top, and I am going to clamp it all the way around so it glues well. And you can see that little bit of a gap right there on how much that board is bowed, but not that bad that I don't think I can straighten it out. I'm going to get this clamped all the way around and leave it for about 4 hours. And I am going to turn it over and use that extra piece that I had. And I am going to do the same for the bottom portion, and then use the staple gun to put these two boards together. I have it turned over. I'm unclamping it. Same procedure, generous amount of glue. Spread it out, get that board on there, and you can see that the cuts are a little bit bigger, but nobody is going to turn it over to check that. And I am getting this clamped down, wiping off my excess glue from the edge, and leaving it for maybe 20 minutes. I turned it over, and I am going to use my staple gun, and I had to make sure my staples didn't go through the bottom, just checking that to make sure. Other supplies I use is Annie Sloan paints. I used a mold by Redesigned by Prima called Lace 2. I used a Redesigned by Prima stamp called Bohemian Dreams, some random stencils, and my Made by Marley paper, since I am a brand ambassador for the company. Now, this paper is made by Marley. You can find them on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. They have a lot of stockists in the U.S. If you can't find them, go to www.madebymarley.co.uk. This paper is called Namaste. You get 3 sheets in a pack. It is recycled paper. Her colors and designs are always bright and bold, and she does like bohemian as I do. If I run out of that paper, I may use this one called Borders, a piece to add in, but I'm not quite sure at this point. I'm going to go ahead and get this entire piece painted with this Annie Sloan chalk paint in Bambus and blue. And I'm not trying to go in a straight line. I'm going every which way just to get this covered, using a small brush to get in all them corners. This needs to be covered, and I did use 2 coats on the inside and pretty much 2 coats on the whole piece. The inside is completed. It's still drying, but it is a nice blue. I countersunk some drill holes so I can put this top back on. Now, I did the inside already, and it's sealed because I just didn't want to have to deal with working in corners with the top on. So pretty soon you're going to see what I did on the inside, a little sneak peek. Oh, there it is. All right, I'm ready to put my screws in, and I started to put the first one in, and I realized that the spindles were shifting a bit, and I needed to torque it over just a bit, so I added a clamp just to straighten that out so it would go on square before I finished sinking all 4 screws in. And once I had that completed, I am going to cover these with some Gorilla wood putty, and I'm going to overfill so I only have to sand this once. Ready for molds. Das clay and Titebond quick and thick glue. This is what I use to stick the molds on. Now when I'm getting my molds ready, I will dust it with some cornstarch. You don't really need a whole lot, just enough to help that clay release from that mold. And work your clay. If it's really dried and cracking, just use a mister bottle and kind of mist it while you're working it so it's nice and smooth. You won't get as many cracks in the front. Work your way down and press it in all of the areas of the mold nice. If you can remove any of that clay as you're taking it downward, go ahead and do so. But I'll keep working it until I get it in every little area of that mold pressed down very, very well. A somewhat dull knife, I start in the middle and I just lay it right on the top and cut that excess off. And you're going to see I'm going to get stuck a little bit right there. I'm going down too deep. And that's the difference of the Redesign by Prima molds versus the IOD molds. IOD molds have a little lip around the edge so you don't get that. And you don't have as much cleanup around the outside of your mold. So once I have that cut, I am pressing that all down again and making sure everything is all the way up to the edge and my edges are clean so I don't have a lot of excess clay, and I'm ready to pop it out. And I'm going to pop it out on top of just a plastic bag so it's easier to move around. When you are going to take your mold out, bend that up until that little first area pops out and keep bending it and pushing on the back side of that mold. Just roll it and push on the back side. If you need to tap it down a little bit, tap it down. When you get to the very, very end is where you may need a little more finger action because you don't want to stretch that last end piece. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to get out, but just take and when you get there so you don't break it, just push it down with your fingers. So I'm going to go ahead and just straighten it out, make sure it's all nice and formed up. And this is what I am planning to do, is add that all the way around the top. And then I am going to add the bigger one down along that bottom where I have all that trouble going on with them 3 boards. So I have this corner. How am I going to do this? Well, I need to measure how far down I need to cut and how far long I need to cut. So when I put that piece on, it kind of goes around that other end coming up. So I'm just going to go up and make a little mark on how far down I need to go. And I'm just going to use the ruler itself to cut how far in I need to go. So I'm going to go ahead and get this cut both directions and notch that out. So when I go to match it up, I don't have this big excess chunk of clay. I mean, you're always going to have to do a repair. It's quite hard to get things perfect for me anyway. So I'm going to get this piece off and then I will flip it over and add my Titebond quick and thick glue to the back side of this piece. So there's the flip. I'm going to get that glue, just shaping it up a little bit. And this is about the amount that I needed to spread out on this. If you really put a lot of glue, that just makes more cleanup around the outside edge. So I'm using a wooden stick. Make sure you push it all the way over every edge and work your way down and get that entire mold covered with that glue. Here we go. Oh, this is hard, yeah. So I flipped it and I'm starting to attach it, and I'm matching that bottom up with the bottom lip of that wood, and that top portion is going to fold over the top. What made this a little bit easier, when I folded the edge over, then the mold did not slide, which was nice. So I'm folding every little tab over, including the one I cut, which fit pretty good around that other piece coming up from the other molding. Tap it down lightly. You don't want to distort your image, and just make sure it is all stuck down good, and clean up your glue. I just have a bigger paintbrush with a little glass of water. If there's too much glue, I'll rinse that brush off in the water and dry it and go back at it. Here's my end I need to fix now. So I'm going to pre-wet it, get it a little bit slurried up, and I'm just going to put a little snake in there. And a lot of times all I do for forming is I just use my paintbrush with water on it, and I start to press that in where it needs to be filled and forming it so it kind of flows in with the other design. And I did the end as well, just needed a little snake in there. Just tried to form that in so it looks a little more natural. And there you have it. Once this was dry, I have my Abusen blue again, and I need to get this entire thing painted with 2 coats. It's going to be a lot of fun around all the molds, because you can go over a mold and look at it and have to go over it again, and look at it, have to go over it again, and look at it and have to go over it again. That is the nature of this beast. So on the sides, I had to really make sure I got up underneath that ledge, because I did not want any white showing, and I left areas where my decoupage paper is going to get laid down. Now I have Provence and Annie Sloan chalk paint, and that is what my molds are going to be. So this took a couple hours. I pushed that dark blue right up around each one, so then when I was painting that lighter blue over the top, I just had to kind of skim it over the top. It was easy. Well, here's where I'm going to leave it, because we're into it about 18 minutes, and that was as far as I got this week. So here we are. I want to thank you if you have stayed with me this long. And this is my beautiful backyard, and I'm going to show you my front yard, how I have it decorated for the holidays, which was a lot of fun. And I really would like for you to come back and see part 2 of this. I'm not quite sure totally how I'm going to decorate it, so it is going to be a fun week for me. So like and subscribe. I want to thank you for watching, and come back for part 2.